Welcome to Rafa Said It Here, a show about everything and anything that happens in our lives that impacts our mind, body, and spirit. I am so glad that you're joining us today. Welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rafa Said It Here. My name is Rafaela Silva, and I'm glad that you're here for another episode of my podcast. If this is your first time tuning in and you're listening through Spotify or Apple, make sure you hit the follow button and also the notification system so that you can get notified of the latest episode. If you're listening through YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can also get notified of the latest episode. Today, I have a very, very special guest with us, which I will introduce in just a second. But I just want to give him this warm welcome. His name is Sando Karneh. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah,
Sando
you got it.
Karneh. All right, Sando Karneh. He is the founder and executive director of an Atlanta-based charity organization called HEAL, Help, Educate, and Assist Lives. It's an organization that focuses on providing resources to orphans in Liberia, West Africa, his country of birth. The organization has an orphanage with 30 children and supports many other philanthropic initiatives in Liberia and the Atlanta metro area. He's also the vice president of Morgan Stanley and a certified equity professional. He has a bachelor's degree of science in social work from the University of Texas at Arlington and a Master of Science degree in management with a concentration in organizational leadership from Strayer University. He also has a certificate in humanitarian response to conflict and disaster from Harvard University. He has worked in the financial services industry for the last 21 years. He's married, has 4 children, and lives with his family in Lawrenceville, Georgia. He's also a cyclist and he loves traveling. Welcome, Sandra. Wow, what a spread here.
Thank you, sister. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored and humble to be here on your show because I've been seeing you on social media, and I mean, you're just tremendous. And I have no words to say to be here. Excuse my
Thank
voice
you.
when I'm cracking up because I'm
Yeah,
kind of
no worries.
emotional
The
right
pleasure is
now,
all mine.
having to be with you on here.
Well, I've been watching you for a long time, through what you post on social media. I've always like, I wonder, I have to like sit down with them and ask them a few questions. So today is the day. And so I'm going to jump right into, of course, out of the obvious reasons, meaning, being from Liberia, as to why you wanted to start this project in Liberia. Like, what was the turning point for you? Like one day you're sitting down, you're like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do for the kids in Liberia. Like, what was that moment? What was that turning point for you?
Something that has always been part of me, but I will give you a short synopsis of why. My why is I'm helping me when I was younger,
Mm,
right? So let me kind of go into a little bit detail when I mean that, what I mean by assisting me and helping me when I was younger, right? Because I grew up poor. I grew up in a zinc shack without running water, without restrooms, toilets. I used to go to the swamps to use the restroom or go to a friend's house to use the restroom. So I understand how it is to go a day without food, right? I understand how it is to go to school with a shoes that the bottom is off, but I put a cardboard in there to prevent my feet from messing up, right? So I understand all that. I understand how to go and look for used clothes to wear. So basically, the orphans are the same, right? They look, they are looking for the same things that I looked for when I was younger. Look for food, look for clothes to wear, shoes, and a better environment to stay, right? So that has always been, you know, at the back of my mind that, you know what, if God gives me the opportunity to live and to be somehow successful, there's no reason why I shouldn't go back and give back to me when I was younger.
Mhm. That statement right there was just so very, like, I felt that in my heart, because I think a lot of times, and thank you for saying that, first of all, because I think sometimes folks do the, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with what people do, but the importance of seeing you in them and saying, I'm doing this for my inner child, for that little kid that didn't get a chance, an opportunity to, live a specific life or have specific things. And the fact that you're able to recognize that inner child first, I think that in itself is just like a huge, I think it's one of the biggest healing process that an adult can go through, saying, I'm going to take care of that inner child. I'm going to make sure that they have shoes, running water, food. In turn, they're able to be with those children in Liberia. So thank you so much for that. Wow, that's what a powerful statement. Like, you just started out strong, Sando.
Yeah, I mean that's
So,
it, and that's all it is. I mean, it's
yeah.
nothing big. I didn't wake up one morning and I
Mhm.
had an inspiration from God, or I had a turning point in my life that or there was an intervention that came.
Uh,
No, it's all because I lived it.
mm,
So I feel it's an obligation for me to go back and fix it.
got it. Got it. With that being said, tell me a little bit about what was it like living in Liberia? Like, what was, if you would like to share, what was life like for you as a kid? So we can kind of, be there with you for just a moment.
Yeah, if I pin a picture,
Mhm.
as I said, I grew up in a family of 9 children, right? Um, I think I'm the sixth child. Um, grew up with not a lot, right? But I think we were still happy, right? Because we understand that we don't have it. Because if you don't have it, you settle for what you got, right? But one thing my parents instilled in all of us was education, right? Um, although I was living in a zinc shack, but I went to school with vice president children, with the president children. I went to the best Catholic all boys Catholic school in the country, right? So my mom and my dad, they were like, you know what? We don't have it, but we're going to sacrifice. But all of our children will go to the best schools in the country. So with that being said, I grew up with good friends, right? Um, Friends up there, family that's up there. So the network that I have built, in Liberia was awesome. My childhood was awesome. I mean, although we lacked, but I felt that those were the happiest times of my life, right? So for my first um 4 years from birth to 4 years old, I actually live because we have a farm, natural rubber farm, right? From birth to 4 years, I actually live with my grandma because I'm a grandmom's baby, right?
So
So
am
for the
I.
first four, yeah. So for the first 4 years, I lived with my grandma because she was on the farm. The farm is about an hour and a half from the city. My mom was in the city. My dad was about 30 minutes from the farm because he was a teacher, right? And like like the US, teachers are not paid well.
Mhm.
Same thing in Africa, right? So the natural rubber farm was what actually helped us to get us to school, right? Pay our tuition and things. So for the first 4 years, I spent with my grandma, and then to start school, I moved, in town to my mom, and but my dad was outside the city, and he comes home, during the weekend because he was controlling the farm and also teaching out of the city. So, but education was, was a primary focus for us. So although I went through strives and hardship, but I feel that those strives and hardship actually helped me to become who I am, right? Because it molded me right. Because today, if the bank comes and say, you know what, we're taking your house from you because you cannot pay the mortgage, you can take it because I can go and stay in a shelter without even thinking that I wouldn't stress, right? Because I
Mm.
will be living somewhere better than where I even used to live, right? So if I don't have clothes, if I don't have a car, those things don't move me because I have already experienced it, right? So my childhood was I was happy, though I lacked, but I was happy. It's just unfortunate that when I started actually, because my older brothers and sisters, they started migrating to the States. I'm telling you, we were poor, but my mom was a visionary, right? So all my big brothers, all of them came to the States to further their education, right? My mom came to join them, and then unfortunately, the war came to Liberia.
Mm.
And yeah, so we had a 14 years civil war that started in 1989. And I was just about, in high school and things like that. So everything just derailed everything. So I live in a couple of West African countries, couple of countries around the world, and then I transitioned to the US in 1998.
Mhm.
I came directly to Texas, and now I'm in Atlanta.
Got it. Got it. You said something that was another powerful statement. And I think a lot of people, because I grew up in the same conditions. I'm from City of God. I don't know if you ever heard of City of God, like the movie. We grew up with sewage water in front of us, one outfit to go for Sundays,
Brazil, right?
Yeah, in Brazil. So with
Yeah.
similar conditions, we didn't have money. So my mother came to the US because of a diplomat. My grandmother used to work she used to iron clothes for the wealthy. And there was a diplomat couple that had asked my mom, asked my grandmother if she had any of her daughters that would like to accompany him and his wife to the US. And that's how I came to the US. But I also grew up in similar conditions that you did. And so when you said if you were to lose everything and start over, it's like no big deal. And I used to often say, and I've lost a lot also after even having in my
Yeah.
life. And I remember I used to always say to myself, well, there's always my car. That was my thought process. Like, well, no, I have my car. But I never had to resort to that. I'm always grateful. But that was my thought process as well, because when you come from nothing, you know that you can start all over again because you have
Exactly.
done it before.
Yes, ma'am.
So we have
Yes,
the
ma'am.
tools to do it again.
Yeah,
So
we cope.
yeah,
We
we
cope.
cope with it. So thank you for making that statement and the way that you did, so that others can say, listen, when you have nothing, what can you do from nothing? Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
And going to
So,
stress yourself and get sick and get worse, right? Because if you stress, there's a high probability that you could have a stroke, a heart attack, and then become worse, man. Just pray that you wake up in the morning and you got life, man, and
mhm,
move on.
and you start
Yeah.
over, you move on.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So when you moved to the US in 98, what was the coming from where you're coming from, and now you're here in the United States of America, which is a whole different culture.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that, well, let me just say, as coming the mindset that you had coming from Liberia, and you got here, and you're like, here's the United States of America. What were some of the things that you struggled with right in the beginning?
The thing about me, I never had any cultural shock or anything like that because Liberia, if you to the listeners, if you actually know the history of my country was founded by free slaves from the
Mm.
US and the Caribbean, right?
Oh.
So I got cousins from Guyana, Barbados. So our country was started by free slaves, right? That's how, yeah. So our pledge is the same with the US. We have the original pledge. We just switched the names from United States of America to Liberia, and we do not have God in it, right? So we have the original flag because the US added God, I believe, in 1950.
You're talking about the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, we say the
Okay.
same thing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the Republic of Liberia and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we
Got it.
say the same pledge. Our constitution is the same. The schooling system is the same. Our flag is the same. The only difference is just one star in the blue
Got it.
field, right? So we started, and then most of our families come to the States for vacation and things, right? So, like for me, when my mom came to the States in 86, that's when my life kind of changed a little bit because I moved to my aunt, who was a little bit, you know, up there. And like all my clothes, my colognes, everything came from the States, right? So, I got my Beat It, Michael Jackson Beat It jacket. I got the Thriller. I got the whole outfit. I got all the new Nikes that come out. So by the time I was 14, 15, I was kind of living a better life with my aunt at a better place and everything like that. So it was not a shock, right? So most of my sisters and brothers were already here. So we used to talk. I used to see, talk to them on videos and see them talk over the phone. So, but to be real with you, when I came to the States, because I didn't want to come to the States, for one. I didn't want to come to the States because I love Africa, right? And But when I came to the States, I was like, because I left from Cote d'Ivoire, Abidjan, right? And Abidjan in Africa is called Petit Paris, right? Because it's beautiful. It's a beautiful city.
Yeah.
But when I came to the States, I was like, because you know how they portray America, in the developed and developing countries, you would think America is like heaven, right? But then I came to Texas. I was like, man, I'm from Abidjan, right? Abidjan, it's even beautiful than places in Texas, right? I'm from, Gabon. I've been to Gabon, right? Senegal, right? So it was not a cultural shock. The only thing that I would say to America about America, if I gotta do it again, I would still come back to America to start life, right? Because America is a place that you can make it if you want to. It can make you or it can break you depending on who you are and your purpose and vision,
Mm.
right? So that's the only thing because like to transition in other countries, like Europe and Asia is harder
Mm-hmm.
than America. You can integrate and transition in America easier than those other countries.
Yeah.
So that's a plus for America. But I was really not in awe and you know.
That's interesting. I had no idea. Now I had to go look up the history of Liberia.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah. So
uh,
so let me tell you some. We
yeah.
have Maryland, we
Mm-hmm.
have Greenville, we have Virginia, we have Arlington, we have New Georgia, we have Louisiana. Those are all cities.
Wow.
Yeah, in Liberia. So the school
That is.
system, everything, the school system, our
Mhm.
constitution is a complete replica of the US
Okay, right.
Constitution.
Now I'm curious about something. You said the only thing that is within the Pledge of Allegiance is the remove under God. Any particular reason why God was removed from the allegiance, the Pledge of Allegiance?
No, because the original Pledge of Allegiance for the US never
Uh,
had God in it.
oh, they didn't.
No, they didn't. That's because Liberia was the first independent country in
Mm-hmm.
Africa. We got our independence right after Haiti. Our
Okay,
independence was 1847. So we
got
had
it.
the original pledge. America just added God in the pledge, I think around 1950 or something like that. So we
Interesting.
we kept, that original
The
pledge and
original
actually
pledge.
Yeah, just switched it. How's it?
That is so interesting. That's this like really exciting news to me because I'm like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, so when you say the freed slaves from the U.S. and also the Caribbean were I know that Haiti also uh, gained it. Was Haiti part of that migration to
Yeah.
Liberia?
So the majority of people that migrated from from the Caribbean were from Guyana, from Barbados, um, a little bit from Brazil, right? Yeah, from Brazil,
Yeah,
Haiti, right? But the majority came from that Guyana, Barbados, Bahamas area.
yeah,
Yeah, I would, I would tell you a story, right? So I went to the Bahamas. So I'm in the Atlantis, right? So I came downstairs and went to a restaurant, and then I started talking, right? So the lady behind the bar, she was like, "Hey, where you from? You sound like us." I was like, I'm from here. She was like, you, s- you sound so much like us, but there's something under your
mm,
accent, right? She
yeah.
was like, no, there's something under. And then I told her, I was like, I'm from Liberia. She was like, oh, you from Liberia? And then she was like, oh, but yeah, I know a little bit about Liberia. Some of our family went to Liberia. I was like, yeah, that's the country I'm from. And I had free ice cream all the time. Yo, man, you want something from them? Don't get it, So
Ah,
yeah, but we
it's
kind
so
of
awesome.
we have a rich history, and majority of African Americans and do not know the history of Liberia. Um, what I found out when I came here was that majority of our African American brothers and sisters, they kind of lean strongly with South Africa
Hmm.
because of the same, oppression, because South Africa was the apartheid and here
Yeah.
was, slavery and civil rights. But realistically, no slaves came from South Africa. They were enslaved there, right? So slaves came from like the Angola, especially
Right.
to Brazil, leaving from Angola straight to Brazil, because that was a Portuguese colony.
Hmm.
So most of the people that went to Brazil came from that Angola, Equatorial Guinea, and Central
Congo and the
Congo,
Cameroon. Hmm.
the Cameroon, right there.
Hmm.
That's where they came from, right? So, but yeah, to African American brothers and sisters listening to this, man, you have to go to Ghana, you have to go to Liberia, you have to go to Sierra Leone, you have to go to Guinea, Congo, Angola. Those are the places that your forefathers came from. If you do, I can tell any African American, you do your DNA, you will be traced to one of those countries, one, two, or three of those countries right in that curve coming down to Angola.
Yeah, I did mine, and mine was 40 over 45% both Cameroonian and Congo. I knew Congo
Yep.
was. We had a
Yeah.
lot of Bantu people in Brazil.
Yeah.
My one of my uncles did before I did the ancestry DNA. I knew that my ancestry was Congo because my one of my uncles did some research and he found that we were from the Bantu. But the Bantu was also throughout, not just
All
in
over West Africa.
all of West Africa part. So
Hmm.
a
Yeah.
lot of us are Bantu people, but the story of Liberia is really fascinating. I'm like, because
Yeah.
again, I have, if and I love history. You know, the fact that I
Yeah.
don't know, how come that I didn't know what it is? So I keep thinking, like, how many other people have no clue?
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely something for me to, read
Yeah.
and
Check
learn
it out. Check it out. It's a
for
good history.
sure. For sure. It's really exciting to see. Going back to heal a little bit. What year was it founded? When did you found Heal?
Hugh. he was actually founded, when is the, is it February? When is Valentine's Day?
Valentine's Day, February 14th. It was founded.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
2013. That's when,
yeah.
that's when it the way how it started, it was kind of funny, right?
Mhm.
Because I knew I knew I was going to help me when I was younger, but I didn't know how I was going to do it.
Yeah.
So he started because of frustration. All right. So um in 2013, I really wanted to start doing something in Liberia a little bit, small on a small scale. And then one of my friends I know, his cousin was had an organization called Shoes for Liberia. Basically, what they were doing just collecting shoes, shipping it to Liberia, and then distribute it to the to those who are in need. And then I called his cousin. I was like, man, that's something easy he's doing, right? So I kind of, I want to stay on the back end and actually just help him do it. So I called him. I was like, dude, it's something, this thing you're doing is easy. So I'm going to go to my job and do a shoes drive, and I'm
Mhm.
going to pay for the shipping and everything. And let's do this, on a bigger scale, right? If we can even send like a container of shoes, right? And and so I went to my job and asked the site management to do a shoes drive, right? We did a shoes drive, collected, I think, over 1,000 pairs of shoes. But then this guy, my cousin actually helped him to start the program. My cousin called me. She was like, dude, I heard you with this person and you trying to help that person, but that person don't actually do what they say with the shoes. When they take the shoes to Africa, they actually sell it and just give a small amount to the people who really need shoes. So I just got frustrated and I went to my mentor at work. I went to him complaining. I was like, look, I have collected all these shoes. Why would someone, do that? Right? So he was like, but then why are you complaining? Go and do something for yourself. And then he was like, go, because you have been telling me about things that you will want to do, in the future. Go put something on a white paper and bring it. Let's see what we can do in the company. Because I work with Morgan Stanley, but I actually was with E-Trade Financial, but E-Trade was acquired by Morgan Stanley. So at that time, my VP was like, put something on paper. Let's start doing something. And that's just how, he started. And my first intent was, I had to go and open a school and stuff like that. But then I was like, man, it's nonprofit. It's so difficult. I don't want to have you know, huge overhead where I got to pay for school and pay for, pay teachers and to administer. I don't want to put a school building and then it falls apart because I don't have the funds to actually maintain the school. So, and then we just transitioned into helping orphanages. So we started helping different orphanages. So about 20 orphanages. I partnered with some organizations on the ground. And basically, what we do is just give shoes, clothes, hygiene products. We're shipping like every quarter, and then we distribute things to the various orphanages until one of the orphanages that we supported, my organization was like, we're going to adopt this orphanage, right? So we adopted the orphanage in 2016. So we started actually subsidizing the organization that was taking care of that orphanage until 2019. We fully took over the orphanage to fully support them. So sending them to school, feeding them, the whole 9 yard. So we're doing everything for them until last year, 22, no, 2 years ago. The partner that had the campus they said they're going to sell the campus. And then guess what was going to happen to all the kids?
They were going to be without homes.
Without home, or they were going to be clustered in other
Mhm.
orphanages that this organization has, right? Because the organization we partner with, they had about 7 to 10 orphanages. So we just adopted one of them, right? So came back to, my friend that that helps me with the organization because we run lean. We only 2 years in America that work, and I got two persons in Liberia that helps with the operations, and then my board of director, we just five. So we are a lean organization, just striving. We've been existing for 11 years now, but we're still small, right? Because we don't get that large. But I can say within the 10 years that we have been working, we have spent over 500,000 into missions, you know? So, and and we're like, no, the children cannot leave, right? Because they are accustomed to a certain way of life right now because we have made the environment kind of conducive for them. They expect that their food 3 times a day, they expect their clothes. I got a medical team that go there. As we speak today, a medical team was just there to make sure. I got a medical team that go there every quarter to check them and everything like that. They in school, it's expensive, but I put them in a school that I feel that school we gave them, the kind of education that is needed because education system in Liberia because of the war is not up to par. But at least I got them in a school that I can say, you know what, they are learning, right? So I was like, no. So man, we had to raise money in about a month and a half to buy the property. So we bought the 2 acres property, the buildings and everything, the land and everything. So now for us, it's no longer an orphanage. It's actually the children's home.
That is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And the reason why it's their home now, because we're not calling it an orphanage, because with an orphanage, the laws in Liberia, if you're 18, you have to leave the orphanage.
Mhm.
Even though it's not drastically enacted, but yeah, that's the law. But it's their home. You can't tell them to leave even if they're 18 until they
Yeah.
are ready to move, right? So yeah, so that's where we are. And that's the greatest thing that I feel in life. That's the greatest accomplishment that I've had personally, right? That's the greatest accomplishment. If God takes me today, I know those kids got a place to stay and they're not going to be in the street, right? So
In other words, the breakdown created a breakthrough. So you went from
yes,
like where you didn't have that total control and ownership of that space, but now you do,
yes,
and
man.
then you can do more, and there can be more expansion. Who knows what else can come from that where you can, who knows, own more and turn that not just an orphanage, but a whole entire system of school system, education,
Oh, yeah, by the grace of God, we're gonna turn that, man. We're gonna turn that. Like as we speak, just a few weeks ago, we actually finished fencing the whole property for security, right?
yeah,
Took, man, probably about $16,000 to fence 2 acres. It's expensive.
yeah.
Yeah, we just completed fencing the area for protection. Now we got to go into the next phase of making the campus, the buildings, renovating the buildings to make the buildings really, really environmental friendly
Mhm.
for them to stay, right? Because like for example, right now the restroom is outside. There's no restroom in the building, so we have to transform that. We have to put solar energy to give them, solar because they don't have energy right now because the electricity hasn't even reached there.
Mhm.
So they just have solar lamps for them to kind of steady and stuff like that. But we want, so I mean, by the grace of God, we'll have that done before I die, right? So
I believe so. I love breakdowns and breakthroughs because I always like, yeah, well, one of those big believers. Like, if it's falling apart, there's something to be expanded.
oh yeah,
We have to
definitely.
outgrow whatever it is that we were here to gather, learn. Okay, it's time for expansion. Now you know what this how this works. And the reason I believe that is because I believe that because I believe that consciousness is always in constant state of movement. Conscious doesn't stop. Right? It's constantly moving. And if it's constantly moving, we must also constantly move.
meaning like you've learned something, you've experienced this, now it's time to experience something or more of whatever that is or something different, right?
Yes, ma'am.
With that being said, the breakdown that you guys had with with the building, because all of a sudden I saw this whole entire vision just flash in front of me of, adopting more orphanages in Liberia. Like, okay, this is, at least from what I saw, like, um, here's an opportunity that you have with one. Um, what would you like to be able, like, with that in your hand, like, you have that now under your belt. Here's what we've done. Um, is there an opportunity to adopt others and to, I don't know, just take over a whole entire, I might be thinking a little too big here, but a whole entire system, not just the orphanage, but also education?
Oh, yeah, we're doing that now. Just to let you know, that's not the only thing we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the campus, our kids, those are our babies, right? Those they got like first priority in what we do. But we are into healthcare as well. But we don't. The thing is, I don't reinvent the wheel, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to jump into. I'm not going to put my tentacles or the organization tentacles into everything, right? Why they have competent organizations that's working in these areas, right? So like healthcare. So like the group that actually goes on a campus every quarter, they have a clinic, they have a lab, they have a mobile healthcare team, right? All we do is look for medical supplies here, buy medications, send it to them, right? They take care of that healthcare portion of that, right? So I have another organization that I partner with. They build libraries across the country, right? And they are into computer literacy. So in our week we built a library through them that supports about 500 students on the campus, right? And then what we do is we provide laptops to them for the education program, right? So we also have a partnership with another organization that was started by all orphans. It's called Orphan Concerns, right? So they basically advocate for orphans around Liberia, right? And they do have projects all around, right? So for example, some of the things that we do. So that group goes to orphanages, right? And if that orphanage does not have drinking water, they let
Mm-hmm.
us know. We
Got it.
look for the money, right? We give it to them. They implement a hand pump to give that
Mm-hmm.
orphanage clean drinking water, right? So if they see another orphanage, there's no restroom, or the restroom is in in a bad condition, they reach out to us. We help to improve the bathroom. Or if they do not have any restroom at all, guess what? We put a modern restroom there with commodes and place for them to shower and everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? So yeah, so playground, right? If they don't have playground, we partner with them. We try to put a playground at the orphanage. So we do a lot of things. So all together with the children on our campus and the children we support for education, we have about 50 children on scholarship. So the 30 on our campus, then we got 10 at another campus, and then we have a program. We have um, adult orphan program where the focus is on we just started a pilot program with girls, right? So you know most of the time when organizations go into these developing countries and they talk about helping women, they want to put them into like homemaking, cooking, baking, fashion design. So I was like, no, we should do it different. We should put these women in male-dominated fields so that when they get from there, we can be able to help them start a company of all women, right? So we started a pilot program, and we have two girls that we piloted. They're actually doing plumbing. So they have been doing plumbing for a year and a half, and hopefully within 2 years they will be done. And then guess what? We can have them intern with a construction company and they can be doing the plumbing work. And as we speak right now, like if an orphanage needs plumbing work, they go there and do it,
Yeah.
right? So that's the main projection that I'm praying to God for, to get more females into construction, into
Mhm.
plumbing, into doing auto mechanic, sending them to vocational school. Yeah, so we got these two in a vocational school now doing plumbing. So we got our tentacles with the little bit of money we can raise. We have our tentacles, in little things around the country. But my primary goal, though, sis, you will not believe it, that all I want to do is just help one person. That's
Mhm.
all I want to do. I don't care about helping the world. I just want to help one person because I feel that if I help one person, that's a generation, right? So I see it like this. If I help this girl, right? Because for example, the first senior from the orphanage, she's doing nursing right now. We got her in college, right? So she started last year. I was first graduate. Woo. So she's in college. So if that girl becomes a nurse, right? And let's say she she become a nurse practitioner and she got her doctorate degree and she's at that level in her life, there's a higher probability that she will interact with people at her level, right? So there's a higher probability that she could get married, right? To somebody in that vicinity of at her level. And if they have a kid, because they will become successful, there's a
Mhm.
high probability for that kid to be successful, right? And
Yeah.
if that kid is successful, that there's a higher probability for that kid to be
Mhm.
successful. So if you look at it, I'm not saving one person. I'm saving a generation.
A generation. Yeah.
So that's how I see it.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, especially with because when you talk about, putting women or young ladies into, male dominated positions in the world, aside from the things that we know, most male dominate, and you're talking about generation, um, is there a consideration of including girls into leadership roles? Like where girls that might be interested in politics, or girls that might be interested in, just different types of leadership roles that we have in the country. And the reason why I bring this up is because even though you might go and be in spaces where there's male dominated positions, I think there's still a huge deficit of women leading in places where they're changing policies and just changing the whole entire nation to think a little bit different. I feel that all over the world is still a very heavy patriarchy space, and I think in order for us to have some sort of balance in that space, are young women being prepared for those types of spaces as well? I'm just curious.
Yeah, and I just feel with the example that I gave, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just take those two girls, right? Those two girls are doing plumbing. Mm? Because our goal for them is that when they complete and get maybe a year or two of experience, guess what? We're going to open their own company,
Mm-hmm.
right? Their own plumbing company, right? Now, when we open the company, they will become employers, right? They will become employers. And then they may start looking out for contracts, right, within government of the private sector, and the company become known, right? Because I think having an advantage in the private sector drives the company to actually come to you, the government to actually come to you, and for you to make that impact. So I just feel that the goal is put more women
Mm-hmm.
position, right,
Yeah.
of influence. Because politics, for me, politics is power, right? Power.
Mhm.
And we shouldn't sugarcoat it. Politics is money. Politics is money. Man, like everybody that running in the US, if politics were not money, you are not going to see commercials by this pack. This other commercial is by this pack. This other commercial is by this interest group. This other commercial is by the interest group. To be real, most all the politicians that go into office, they go into office, they may have the best, intention, but when that campaign money come from those interest group, your loyalty is to them first, right? So my thing is more women needs to go into positions of power. And I just feel that doing it in the private, although the private sector is still dominated by men, but I think
Mhm.
it's the time for women to be like, you know what, let's blaze our own trail, right? This guy started a plumbing company. Let's get girls. All our girls should be plumbers in this company. Let's do stuff like that. Or the best computer science. Let's look for girls that go into computer science. And okay, even if they're doing computer science, what's the one or two that talks a lot and I can beat anyone with argument, and let them go do law
Mhm.
along with that. And guess what? Okay, we're going to push them to 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 have an impact at the table, right? So, but yeah, I just think it's just empowering women the best way that we can for them to break the ceiling. And when I mean breaking the ceiling, they shouldn't work for anybody. Let them blaze their own trail, do their own thing, and I'm telling you, man, politicians will come to you. The government will come to you. That's how I see it, because I feel if you depend on politicians and government, it's all about power and the human beings, man.
No, I agree with you. And I was gonna, when you talk about money, not to mention some of these um, politicians, when they do get money, they don't get signed up to office, they keep that money. So it's a legal thing, like you keep all the millions you raised for your campaign. So it's definitely not saying that is the only or the motivation, but it is a ways of acquiring money. um, I love the idea of what you're up to with these children. um, what As people are going to listen to this episode, what are you guys still looking for in terms of partnership? I know you guys are always looking for people to donate for sure, but what other types of partnerships are you guys looking for at the moment?
Like right now, I'm searching for competent board members. You know, if you feel that your heart is in Africa and
Mhm.
you feel, and I can tell anyone listening to this podcast, Africa will be a superpower, man. I can tell anybody. It may not be in our lifetime, but there are a lot of us coming to the Western world, as they call it. I don't even like to call it the Western world, coming to developed countries, that our focus is going back home and make, our country a better place. And we have a lot of young people, you know, getting out, coming coming here, getting the experience and going back to develop the country. Africa has the youngest population in the world, right? So if you anyone who has the passion of not just helping, because even what I'm doing, right, I sometimes feel that it is counterproductive because Africa depends on aid a lot,
Mhm.
like hand me down. So sometimes I feel like I'm doing the same thing, but at the time, that's what the kids need, right? Because they do not have it, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's why. our goal is to push education and things like that. But I'm looking for competent board members who actually understands some, about grant writing. I have never received any grant from anybody. This is just personal funds, grind with friends and family. My company helps, and just online. So board members and just prayers, man. People, uh, I mean, if you have passion to to put a dent in a situation that's bad, he who is one to become a healer, because that's how we call, our donors and partners. They are all healers, right? If you want to become a healer and you know that, you know, your skill, your console, can push up somewhere, network, right? Who can you, by listening to what I have said, who can you talk to say, you know what? I listened to this guy from Africa, this young guy from Africa, and he's trying to do his best to get people out of poverty, to help put a dent in illiteracy, to help put a dent in health, well-being for people, you know. If you know someone who can help, just reach out, tell them. I mean, my website, I think you got all the information,
I
right?
have everything.
Yeah,
um,
I mean, they can
mhm.
reach out to me. Um, hey man, and any African American who's willing to take a trip to Africa, to just kind of get the feel of the forefathers, man, hit me up. I go every year. I leave in November for 3 weeks again. I go every year. So hit me up if you want to go. Do not worry about anything. Don't let no media tell you, oh, Africa is this, Africa is that. Africa is one of the most peaceful place that you can go to. Every Everything else is a media manipulation. Um, yes, we don't live in trees. We have some of the baddest homes, most beautiful cars. Any car you think on that's in the US, whether it's Bentley, it's Lamborghini, is Rolls Royce, we got everything. But guess what? The difference? We pay for it in cash.
Hear that?
Yeah, we pay for it
I
in
prefer.
cash. And when you hear someone build that house,
Yeah,
it's cash. They don't have any loan, they don't have any mortgage. It's cash.
yeah.
Right? So I'm telling you, man, Africa, now is the time to invest in Africa. We got Rwanda, we got Kenya, we got Ghana for African Americans. If you go and invest in Ghana, you get your citizenship. We got Gambia, we got a lot of places that you can go and invest, and where when you walk, you are not thinking about who's looking at me,
Mhm.
right? Because you see yourself all around, right? See yourself. If the Chinese, you know, the Europeans, they over there and making money, Africa is your land. Come home,
Mhm.
go connect, talk to people, find friends from Africa, and you'll go to Africa and make it happen, man. The respect, the pride in that you will get in Africa, you can get it here. Can't get it here, man. And when you leave from here, from the diaspora and go to Africa, you actually they kind of put you at a higher level. So, but you just got to go there and just be humble and
Yeah,
just know that you are no different from the people there, right? Because if you go there and try to act different than the people there, I can tell you, man, your business will not prosper. You will lose money because they will see right through you.
yeah.
Yeah, and you can play with Africans, man, because they will eat you raw. Not physically, but but you will go with about $10,000 and in a month's time, you will be broke because if they see through you that you don't want to be humble and you want to think, and Africans got money.
Yeah,
Don't don't even think that you go in there to like don't 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 pay attention to the news, man. Don't pay attention to the news. You could go in an
No,
African guy's
I
house.
believe it's the same thing they do with, Latin American countries as well. They show
Yeah,
you what's scary about it, not the beauty and all the
yeah,
things to explore. Um, I have one more question for you. Well, a
yes,
couple more
ma'am.
questions.
Yes, ma'am.
One is, what do you see for the future of these children? I know we talked about a lot of things that you want the girls and everything to do, but what is like the ultimate vision that you have for these children that are getting the support in these orphanages?
Yeah. So let me just talk about my orphanage, right? And because
Uh-huh.
you asked the question if I'm going to adopt other orphanages, right?
Yeah.
Um, at this particular stage, the organization wants to focus on the kids that we currently have, right? Because we want to see them through. Because if you just start stretching your tentacles, like income that you're getting
Yeah.
may not may not be enough for you to strategically do what you want to do. So our goal is to take care of those children, see them through college,
Mhm.
right? See them through college, see them getting on their own feet, and eventually, if we can get them scholarship to get out of the country and come to further their education,
Mhm.
that's our goal. But our main goal now is to just focus on the kids to make sure that we give them the best environment to live in, the best education that they can have in Liberia, and to see how we can push them forward. For them, the goal is just for them to be better citizens
Yeah.
and better and law-abiding citizen for them to give back to their country, right? So because all of them are going through that, they will have to come back to give back
Mhm.
to those that left on the orphanage, right? So that's the primary vision, man, just to sit down and because I'm not dying until I'm 125. God and I, we already had a discussion. So at like about 110 years old, I can
Yeah.
sit down,
Yeah.
still riding my bike though. I can sit down and see like, okay, you know, Gloria, you did good.
Yeah.
John, you did good. I see all of them can come right to
Mhm.
my house and be like, Daddy, we good, right? That that would bring me happiness.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Very good. Well, this is a question that I ask everybody at the end of the show is, in a world that works for everyone, what does that look like? It could be one word, it could be a sentence, or it can be a paragraph. Like if you look at the world, like the world is working for everyone, what does that look like for you?
Ooh, it's simple. For me, it's four words. Four words and help one person every day. Yeah, and I say I will a word that will be perfect and working well for me will be the word where everyone is helping one person every day.
Got it.
And did you get it?
Yeah, I know I
Did you
got
re
it. I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So help, that's H.
Uh-huh. Oh, got it.
So a word where everybody is giving each other hope.
Exactly. Not just one person. We're all
Yes.
we're all helping each other heal.
Yes. So basically to do that, you got
Yeah,
to help one person every day, right?
every
That's hope.
got it. Help one person every day. I like that.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm gonna have to write that down and put it right here so I remember that. Help
Yeah.
one person every day.
Every day. That's hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if we do that, we'll get there a little quicker.
Yeah. That's the only thing you can do. If
Mhm.
someone is down, talk to them, you
We
know?
and we have the tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that when someone is very happy
Mhm.
and they're in this place, that's that's the main time that they are vulnerable.
Mhm.
People don't realize that. When people got everything and happy and feel that their life is going good, that's the most vulnerable time of that
Yeah.
person. because that's when the devil, and if you're a Christian, the devil, you know, if you believe in positive energy, that's when the negative energy, the negative people, because that's the time you have people who will be coming around you just for what you have,
Mm.
or just to find out why are you happy. And if they cannot break through, they will start bringing that negative energy for you to be unhappy. So people don't realize one of the main time to help people is when they are happy.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Got that.
Yeah.
Sando, it's been such a pleasure
Yeah.
chatting with you. I mean, your
Yes, ma'am.
organization is amazing. I'm very
Mm.
excited with you guys, what you guys are doing, what you guys are up to in Liberia. I am definitely going to look up Liberia history. I'm like so
Yeah, yeah,
curious
look at that.
now. So
Yeah,
thank you for sharing with us. Really quick, share with others your website, where they can find you, where they can connect with you,
yeah,
so we all know.
yeah. So the website is www.heal dash lives, lives .org. So again, it's www.heal dash lives.org. And our email address, is info@heal-lives.org. Um, we have our Facebook page, Heal Inc., HEAL Inc. Um, we have we have some beautiful merch, t-shirts, caps, hoodies that you can go online and purchase. We don't get a lot of a lot from the merch. Probably we get like $10 or $11. But I can tell you right now, if you go to search um, the amount of money that people live on in a day in Liberia, it will tell you about probably $2. So $1 donating to us, $1, um, $2, $5, $10. You think it means nothing. Like $1, we throw $1 down, or we leave it in our pockets and put our jeans, you know. So um so your listeners, your supporters, I'm telling you, man, y'all please support this sister.
Yeah.
She's I watch her post. She's all about positivity. She's very spiritual. She's like she has this positive energy that they say positive energy connects. So you have to follow my sister. She's awesome. She's awesome. So I was in awe when she asked me to come on this interview, but please follow her podcast. She's awesome. She's the best.
Yes, Sando, thank you so much for joining us. Like I say, everybody got their information, and make sure that I'm also going to put it on a podcast so you guys can click on it. But thank you for joining us this week, and next week we'll be back for more.